Is this everybody in LSAMP? Are we all the LSAMPers?
Physically here today, possibly, but I know a few others have like one
Oh.
class, but for everyone who is here today, welcome. For those of you who are here in person, thank you so very much. For those of you who are joining online, thank you for tuning in, and thank you especially to our wonderful friends in career services who are going to be helping us today with this workshop. So this workshop is going to be really focused on providing especially our seniors, but also our students who are getting ready for applying for internships over the summers, who are looking for what they're going to be doing next. Throughout your college careers, you're going to be needing to have your resumes updated and reflecting what you are currently doing, and especially having your research and the experiences that you are having reflect in these very crucial documents for showing employers, people who are reviewing applications for programs, for internships, even for scholar programs. All of these things have various documents that are for you to convey what you have done and telling someone else how you have done it and what all you have done. And so for people in academia, professors, and people who are in industry who do lots of publishing, they will often have a curriculum vitae, which is all the things that they have taught and all the things that they published. And there is also, of course, the resume. And so that is the kind of work experience, and that is generally a shorter, much shorter document, and that contains the relevant information for the position, whether it is an internship or a career position that you are applying for. So that's my little introduction for that.
Awesome.
And thank you so very much. Christian, I will let you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, my friends. My name is Christian Sino. I'm coming to you guys by way of the Office of Career Services here at the University of North Texas at Dallas. Today, we're going to be going over some resume tips and tricks specific to folks that are in STEM. So we're thinking a lot about the research that you're doing. We're also thinking a lot about what are you going to be doing post-graduation. Some folks want to go to grad school. Some folks want to go directly into industry. Some folks want to go a little bit deeper into their research. A little bit about my background and why I decided, or I was selected out of the office to kind of do this conversation piece with you all. So I'm currently pursuing my doctorate in education, leadership, and policy studies. I know that is social science, and y'all some hard science individuals. You cannot show me a geode, and I will never be able to identify a geode a day in my life. But we still understand that there are some things whenever it comes to if you're deciding moving to the faculty realm, moving into publication, looking at some of those different opportunities that you may be interested in. That is the space that I am currently in. However, we will not be going into CVs today because those can be anywhere from 10 pages, 13 pages, 26, 37, however many pages. We're going to stick to a nice, short, sweet resume. Can you hit me that next page real quick?
Yes. Can everyone on the chat, can everybody online hear us? Yes, okay,
Awesome.
Good. Also, I'm going to go ahead and post in the chat the feedback link for everybody. Go ahead and do that first. Please complete that in the end, but please help us keep track of everybody's attendance and participation today.
No worries. So today we're going to go over some 4 big hitters. So the introduction. So I've already told you a little bit about myself. I will give you guys my 2 rules that I always use whenever I present. So I'm required to be here longer than 15 minutes. The only thing that I do if I'm required to be with somebody for longer than 15 minutes, we're going to have a little hee hee ha ha chuckle laugh, something like that. So if I tell a bad joke, a dad joke, I need one person to give me some a little, just a tiny bit of joy. The only person I'll be with for 15 minutes that's not going to laugh is my dog. We're spending, see, look at that. I also have a conversation piece of this is not Vegas, so we're not operating on Vegas rules. What happens in this room, the learning and things that take place within this space, you take outside, you take it to your colleagues, you take it to your friends. Even if you're like, oh, Christian, completely wrong, you're sparking a conversation and creating a dialogue even in your brain. So those are the 2 rules that I have, and that's a little bit about my introduction. So then we're going to go over resume errors and some other pieces. So first, I want to talk to you guys about the different types of resumes, specifically when we're looking at STEM folks. 1, we're looking at grad school. 2, we're looking at work. And then 3, we're going to talk a little bit about that CV, right? So then whenever we're looking at grad school, that grad school resume is getting someone acquainted with who you are, one, as a scholar, two, as a student, but also you're thinking about who am I as a student individual and what am I actually trying to pursue. I have plenty of students that will send me their resume and I'm like, oh, this is great. What story are you telling me? Because you're just throwing things on a page. Do not throw stuff on a page because sometimes that does not make sense, right? There is no such thing as this wonderful general catch-all resume. That's not it. You're thinking about how am I tailoring this actual information to something that is speaking to the individual that is reading this resume, right? Whenever you're applying to grad school, I want to start seeing some of the LSAMP involvement that you're doing, right? I want to start seeing some of those different on-campus opportunities. If you've worked on campus, even if it's a job that doesn't necessarily tie itself into your research area, specifically, we'll talk a little bit more about this later, the actual on-campus volunteer work that you're doing. So if you're one of my students that you're interested in biology, I have a student right now that she's interested in HIV and AIDS research. So what does she do? She makes sure that she's at every single tabling event that our health clinic has, right? That's, oh, hey, can I table with you guys? Hey, what certification do I need to table with you? It's very simple things of, hey, I need to be able to show face, right? Getting into that industry is always important. I always tell my students, it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you and how they know you, right? There is a difference between somebody that understands like, oh yeah, that's Christian from Career Services versus, oh, that's Christian from Career Services. And if I send my resume over there, he's gonna get it right. Because every single person that's done it, they've always had great responses and things of that nature. So that's the grad school resume that we're thinking of. Then we're moving over to that working resume. So that working resume is going to kind of take away some of those different pieces. We're going to actually talk more about your skills and how it actually can speak to the work that you want to do. If you're someone that wants to go directly into industry post-graduation and you do not have direct work experience, you did not do any lab work, you did not do anything that ties to what you want to do. Let's say that you want to be in nutrition, you want to be a nutritionist or a nutrition scientist or food scientist, you were like, yeah, I took chemistry 1 and I might have passed OChem the 15th time that I took it. Me too, I have no desire to take OChem ever. But you're thinking of those kinds of things where it's like, okay, well, what does my actual resume say? What courses are you putting on your resume? Because that's something that you can do. While you guys are in school, you're doing a level of training, right? So being in school is not something that we do because we think it's fun and cute. We want to give the government and like different entities our money and things of that nature. No, we want to keep our money in our pockets, right? So you're thinking about the fact that all of the classes that you're taking are training you and getting you ready for those different opportunities that you're looking for whenever you're going into the work world. So I also want you guys to think about whenever you're thinking about that working resume, you're also thinking about, excuse me, whenever you put those classes on there, what projects did I do? Did I do a capstone course? Did I do a research analysis? Did I do a literature review that is tied to whatever? If I'm going and I'm applying to a hospital that they are the #1 cancer researcher and I did cancer research with one of my professors, am I putting that on there? If not, what is wrong? What's going on, Misha?
Are we gonna do questions throughout or at the end?
I do questions typically throughout just because it.
So,
Also, if anyone in the chat has questions, feel free to put them in and I will read them out.
so you mentioned on your resume, you're supposed to do your research. So as an LSAMper, you can do this for 2 to 4 years. So every semester, you could be working on the same thing, but it's like a little bit different.
Okay.
Do you think it's better to break it into semesters and say spring, fall, or in 2 years, I did this plus this plus this?
So I have the answer to that.
Really? Go for it.
But if you have thoughts as well. So my thought is you should really break it down by the project itself and how many semesters you worked on that project, because the skills and the specific things that you are going to be doing are project specific. And so you might have worked on that project over a summer and into a fall and then worked on a different project in the spring. Well, those are 2 separate projects and you're going to have different things that you did for both of those. And so you would list that project and then you would have a little date notification of when did you work on that project.
So Ian is right, you're going to put, like, you're just going to base it based on projects. So I'll give you guys an example of like right now I am in publication hell for one publication that I submitted almost over a year ago. Come back.
You're almost done, I know. Keep going, you're almost there.
So I submitted whenever ago, and so we've been going back and forth and waiting for all these different things. Right now on my like actual CV, it says forthcoming because I know the date that I'm waiting for the actual reviewers, possibly it's reviewer two, who knows? For those like revisions to actually come back to me, right? So that would be something that I would say, like if you guys have an actual publication that you're working on with a professor, you can use the term forthcoming. If you already have something out there, you can go ahead and you can put the date of time that you actually worked on it. Or you can have this is when it was published, where it was published, all that information, and we can kind of delve deeper if it's a publication. If it's an actual poster presentation, that is going to look different than a publication, and we will put that under presentation. And so you're gonna kind of finagle things a little bit differently. And then sometimes we'll also, whenever it comes to your actual placements, typically we're gonna have that demographic information, then we're gonna have your education. Specifically for y'all, I will always put some of those more educational based like projects and things like that up to the top because that's going to speak a lot more than some of those additional work experiences that we may have. What's up?
Okay, clarifying question. So if you have a poster, that's one thing. But if you're working on a project, because isn't it for like LaRusso, we're doing like 4 things?
Yeah, we're doing pretty decent.
We do like 4 things a semester for LaRusso. So are you saying I got 4 things per semester?
It depends on what you're actively doing. So is that the one that's doing the?
So
No, that's not the one.
That's Dr.
So
White, he's
where-
doing fetal pigs.
We're doing piggies, we're doing soil, and then we have a prokaryote. We're trying to figure out how humans came to be, which isn't soil, by the way, like the Lord says. So we're doing 3, that's what I heard. So we're doing 3 things right now, like actively in LaRusso. So can we put us 3? You want her to? You want LaRusso? So can we each put all of those things?
So,
Because we're actively
clarifying
working.
question of like, so is, like, this is one overarching, like, actual, like, research project, all 4 of these pieces?
So one class, 4 different projects,
So
same class.
it is a research focused, it's a research group. And so
Gotcha.
they're all working on different parts of several larger projects, but it's broken down into individual tasks. Which is why you're going to have the overall project that you were working on, and then you'll have listed under that your contributions to that project. So you're not gonna list everything that was done for that project, you're gonna list what your contributions to that larger project were.
Yeah, oh, this is gonna be fun.
And that's also why you'll have like the same project listed on different resumes, but you'll have different contributions to it.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And so it'll look different. I would encourage you, one, keep a running resume or like a running note or running tab of all of the projects and things like that that you guys are actively doing. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second.
You can also keep track of like the number of hours that you specifically did, and I know that you keep track, I know all of you keep track of those hours, at least for this program. And so you will have a record of the number of physical hours that you spent in those labs, in those meetings, running those experiments. You'll have that data, and those are things that you can also note that I did this experiment 15 times. Like that shows the rigor, and so having those quantitative metrics in your resume is also really important.
And we'll kind of hit a little bit more on that just a moment. The last piece of this, or the slide is gonna be that CV. We will not dive a whole lot into that CV piece. Most of you guys are not ready for that CV just yet, just because the roles in which you're actually applying for do not require a CV. So a lot of the spaces in which that you're going to be in are going to require more so a resume than the actual CV. Once you start getting into grad school, I want you to have your CV ready, so that way you're already putting things on there. I will give y'all a cautionary tale. It was not until I started trying to submit for publication that they said, oh, we need a CV. Oh, okay, let me try and remember all of these things that I've done over the last however many years. So again, keeping that running list and keeping all of those affiliations, all those different things that you've done is gonna be something that's fantastic. Next slide, please. So some very quick do's and don'ts that I always want y'all to hold on to. This is going to be for any resume. If you are moving in and out of industry, if you're moving in and out of STEM. But that first one, like Ian already said, we want to quantify things, right? I need percentages. I need to know how many times. I need to know the actual numbers behind these things. I know that y'all know statistical significance and things of that nature. 0.05 is drilled into somebody's brain in this room or watching online. But you're thinking about those things of what is the actual significance of this. If you cannot tell me that you were running this experiment however many times, if you cannot tell me what the actual significance of what you did was, if you had however many participants, you said had a group of X amount of X participants, what is X? Had a group of participants, how many participants? So you're thinking about these continuous things. I want you to be able to quantify whenever you're talking about undergraduate research, you're thinking about what are the quantifiable numbers that I can put with this actual section, right? The second piece is tailoring it. So if you're applying to an R1 institution for grad school, or if you're applying to an R2 institution, or if you're applying to an institution that is not a research-based institution, those resumes are going to look a little bit different. In R1, if you don't have any research on that resume, they're not going to accept you. You may have done it, it may be somewhere else in the ether that you think that they're going to go look for. I promise you that those admissions folks ain't looking too hard. If it's not on that paper when you submit it, they're not going to count it. So that's something that I want y'all to think about whenever you guys are applying to grad schools, or if you decide to apply to a grad school, you need to make sure that it is tailored and you know what that school is looking for. The same thing goes whenever you guys are submitting any personal statements, any letters of, not letters of recommendation, but letters of intent, anything of that nature. If you're writing something out, specifically for my STEM folks, if you don't go to the actual department's page, look at what faculty we actually have there and say, okay, this is Dr. whoever, they're doing work that is specifically tailored to what I want to do. I would like to work, or the reason that I'm applying to this program is because I see such and such and so, blah, 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 your personal statement, and then somewhere in there you need to have and highlight that you want to work with these professors, right? You can apply to literally any of the program across the state of Texas, across the globe. But you want to make sure that they understand that, one, you've actually seen what research they've done. You can pull up those professors' CVs. You can literally Google Scholar most of them. So you can go on there, read their actual articles, read the things that they're doing, see what conferences they're actually going to, different things like that. I want y'all to kind of get comfortable with those different pieces whenever you're tailoring.
Additional note, if you are one of our community college student scholars and you are online, and if you're watching this later at some point, these same things apply when you're transferring to a four-year institution. Depending on what field you want to work on, depending on what academic areas you want to focus on, you want to investigate those specific departments, those specific majors, those specific divisions, and you still want to tailor your transfer applications to give you the best shot of getting where you want to go. So all of the stuff here also applies there, just as a slightly less rigorous level.
That third point, we're thinking about being clear and concise, cutting down on those irrelevant points. It's fantastic if you have work experience. Let's say that you have that retail experience, that's great. What I'm looking for, specifically when I'm looking at folks that are trying to move into industry, or if you're trying to move into a space that does not align with whatever your work experience is that you're highlighting the more important pieces. You're highlighting that coursework, you're highlighting those different projects and things that you've already done, those poster presentations. You're also highlighting the organizations in which you're a part of. If LSAMP is not on your actual, and please spell it all the way out, because there's some people that do not know what LSAMP is. Put the entire thing out. Please don't be a higher education snob and just have random abbreviations all across your resume. You're going to go ahead and put those different affiliations on there. If you're a part of the Bioengineers of Texas Association, or if you're a part of NSBE, like National Association of Black Engineers, or something of that nature. So you're thinking about these different associations, clubs, organizations that you may be a part of. You're going to put that information on there. That is more important than the time that you were working at JCPenney's for 3 months. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind. And you can have that on there, and we can have that as a section called additional work experience, or we can just have put it as additional work experience or work experience. And then the last one, again, we've already touched on, is thinking about how we're keeping this updated and relevant. Again, you want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information on your resume. It is the worst thing whenever I ask a student, like, hey, I have a job that's ready for you. You need to go ahead and send me your resume. I need you to go ahead and do this right now. My chair has been like, hey, send me your resume. I got something for you. And I was like, it's not updated, but here you go. Like you're thinking about those things, so I want you guys to always have things updated. That way, again, you may be in a lab, you may have a professor or a colleague that says, oh, I remember the student, hey, send me this right now so I can go ahead and get you in this space.
And one thing I also learned recently, many industry professions also require you to have up-to-date resumes based on your work with them. As an example, say you're an environmental scientist with a national firm, they send their engineers and their scientists portfolios that contain the full like resumes and breakdowns of their work experience when they're trying to get contracts with other companies, because they say, here is our team we would put on this. You can look at their qualifications, they will get this job done. And so literally every 6 months, they're like, make sure your resumes are up to date, because that's how they get and secure external contracts for the work that they do, is by proving that their people know how to do it. So it's not just getting into industry. Once you are there, having your up-to-date documents, having those updated work documents that reflect your experience, especially as your experience grows, is really, really important.
Yes. Go ahead, that next slide for me, please. So again, these are some really simple do's and don'ts that they hurt my soul if you do these. Please don't ever put your age on anything. I have had a handful of those recently. So again, please don't put your age, don't put your address. No one is mailing anything to you. You are more than likely submitting all of this online. They have your email, they have your phone number. That is all that they need. No one needs to show up to your house. Then we're thinking about zip code. You do not need to put your zip code on there. One, specifically, we're thinking about that there's a different level of bias that sometimes comes with different folks, different industries. For my people that are in the DFW area, there is a difference between living in North Dallas and South Dallas. Sometimes people will see those zip codes and they may associate, oh, well, you live in this area, you live in the zip code, you may be such and such, so and so, whatever that additional piece is. So we want to keep that level of anonymity. And then again, please no photos. I'm sure that you look fantastic. Your mama probably told you were so cute when you were growing up, but I'm not your mama, so I don't want to see that picture, right? And so you're thinking about that. You want, again, to keep that anonymity. I also want to give y'all on the back end, whenever we're doing hiring or anything of that nature, I've been on various hiring committees and things of that nature. 9 times out of 10, the admin or whoever for that office is going to go ahead and redact some of this information. So you're really putting some of that up there. One, for no reason, it's taking up space that we could be using to put in some more experience or highlighting some additional skills and softwares and things like that.
Question from the chat. How do you recommend formatting the heading without your address or a LinkedIn?
So it's okay. I would encourage you, please get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is it's not so easy, but it's relatively simple. I should have something in there that will kind of go over your LinkedIn at the end, actually. But whenever we're thinking about LinkedIn, one, that is the place that you are throwing literally everything. Anytime that you have a class presentation, that's on LinkedIn. Anytime that you get a great grade, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of this paper that I did on microbiomes and whatever. Fantastic. You can talk about it there. That is creating a narrative for you online versus your resume can only be so long before I start throwing it in the trash. I've seen 8-page resumes that committees have been like, no, we're not going to look at that. So
Nobody's reading that.
I read it because I'm nosy, but you're thrown out of the pool. I'm just curious, not nosy, curious. That's what we call it, right?
Inquisitive.
There we go. So you're thinking about those things. If you don't have an address, it's not a physical address. All you need to put is your city and then the state. So if you know that you reside somewhere within Dallas, Texas, that's perfectly fine. Houston, Texas is perfectly fine, even if you're in like the Metroplex kind of area. If you know, and so one of the other things is like if you know that you're applying to a role and you live in Texas and you're applying in Colorado, right? Because they have funding for whatever you're trying to do. One, do not put wherever that is on there because then they may not consider you for pay to move.
Relocation costs.
Relocation costs. I was like, I know what it is, but I'm trying to get it. But if you're thinking about relocation costs and things like that, and you don't know what the HR system looks like.
And they generally ask that in the application anyways, where your state, your address and all of that is gonna be in a separate portal, basically. So the city, because those are generally big enough and have enough variety in them, that doesn't indicate anything more than, well, you live in this area. So city and rather than zip code, and then you could put the LinkedIn address in there.
Yes, so you can put that LinkedIn address, and then if you already have a LinkedIn, please make sure that y'all are going in, you're taking the extra letters and numbers off of back to the URL. There are some people where it'd be like Bob Johnson, 777-8234-87. Don't put that on your resume. If you can, we can go in there and you can actually remove all that stuff. It's really simple, and it takes literally less than a minute. Things that I need you to go ahead and add on there are going to be one, a professional email, so please do not have your gamer tag or old nickname from whatever your grandma called you. I do not want anybody trying to do Marvel Rivals call outs whenever they're sending you an email. That's weird. So then we're also thinking about your LinkedIn URL. We already talked about that piece and making sure that we have that fixed. Important awards, you're going to have those awards on there. You're not gonna have that, oh, my mom gave me the bestest little boy award and she put it on the refrigerator. I'm like, I got you. But she put that on the refrigerator for the last 20 years. No, we're thinking about awards that are actually relevant. And so we're thinking about those different things. What's going on, Michelle?
So for your professional email, this is like a me question, or maybe, I don't know, y'all like, maybe y'all. So my email now is my name. And I'm in the process of changing my name. So do you think, because I'm about to start applying for schools, and I already changed my degree, because I'm not playing with y'all. So do you think I should go ahead and make my email with what my name gonna be? Or do I gotta wait till legally, the system?
So you don't necessarily need to, however, yes. So my wife and I, we just got married in October. So yeah.
When did you get married?
October 13th.
I have a birthday 20th, don't do later.
Okay. So you're thinking about whenever you're like, if you're getting married, if you get a divorce, if you decide one day that you're just gonna up and change your name.
Formerly known as Prince.
If you can figure out how to make your name into a symbol, please tell me, because I might do that. But you're thinking about one, you can either create an email, forward the email. There are different ways to actually link emails together.
Yeah.
That sometimes can be a beast, it can be too much for some folks, but it's not that difficult. You can forward the emails, you can also go in there and create new things. It is more common, I will say, like for myself, if I am on a committee, if I am looking at paperwork, previously when I worked in a different role in the institution, if I saw a name that I assumed belonged to someone of like the female gender, then I'd be like, okay, cool. And then the last name was something completely different. I was like, okay, so you either got married, divorced, there is something happening here. There are different identifiers that we're able to actually pull in. So you're thinking about that whenever it comes to like actual school applications, this is for everybody. If you have a legal name change, if you have a dead name or anything like that, please make sure that social security gets changed, and then you bring all of that information and legal documentation to the school so you can get all that fixed up. If you don't, your dead name, old name, legal name, whatever is going to get mixed up, and it turns into a big kerfuffle and hassle for you and everybody else.
So, contact information is email, phone, city, and LinkedIn.
Yes. And then that last one, again, relevant certifications. If you have a specific certification, I don't know if our institution has any for like the specific equipment that y'all use. If anybody in here is like an SPSS Wiz and you have an SPSS bootcamp course, God bless. I hate that thing so much.
Things like various IT certifications.
Yes.
And also if anyone's had like human subjects training research or have had anything with IRB certifications. Not likely here, but as soon as you get into grad school, welcome to your life. Especially if you're doing any research that involves people, because there's a lot of things and a lot of certifications that are in place to make sure that, research is done ethically, especially on people and animals. And so you want to keep those records of that, because then say you're applying to a lab or somewhere, you can say, I'm already certified, you don't need to be spending a bunch of money to train me on this, I'm ready to go.
Yes. Once you get that IRB certification, please remember that it expires. I don't know, mine expires when I get this dissertation done.
Apparently
before
2 years.
Makes me think I have to redo that training maybe.
Until you graduate, but it's specific to if you did like City Place or one of the other ones.
It's fine. Next slide, please. Awesome. So one, we're thinking about how to specifically stand out in the industry. Again, y'all are STEM folks, so this is gonna look a little bit different. Again, if you move outside of STEM, a lot of these will still hold precedent, but we're thinking about if you have some type of undergraduate research or research in general, one, highlight the labs that you work in, highlight the professor that is on there. Sometimes depending on the way that we actually format things, we might be able to have enough space to actually put the professor's name, if they are somebody that is notable, right? So Dr. Y is doing stuff with the crystals right now, and Dr. Y is globally known for crystals or something like that. I don't know.
City programs is 3 years.
Okay. This certification. But we were thinking about if that professor is known, or if you know that they took that research outside of the actual institution, you want to be able to put those names on there. It's the equivalent of saying like, oh yeah, I work with so and so. It's that name drop ability, right?
Patents as well.
Yes. I don't know if I'll actually work with this.
Speaking of that, so if you worked at this school and you worked on the first patent of this school, but your name not on there, which is rude to me, can I still put that was me? That was me, Dr. Manny Isabel Miles. Can I put that?
I'm circle back to you after.
Okay, please, please.
Got some questions. We're also looking at, again, we already talked about showcasing your posters and presentations. If you're doing a symposium at your institution, there are a handful of other symposiums that are around the state, as well as I know that there's a symposium in Shreveport every year for undergraduate research that you guys may be going to for various reasons and whatnot. Going ahead, putting those things on there, putting those things out there is always important. Again, leveraging any publications you may be assisting with. If you did the literature review, thank you. But if you did a literature review, that's something for your professor, you can go ahead and put that on there. If you are the 15th author, you are still an author. I was saying that before. What's up?
Additionally, if you go to the same conference multiple years, don't list that conference multiple times, list that conference once and the different years that you attended.
Yes. And then we're thinking about the skills. So again, leveraging those hard skills, y'all are learning specific hard skills in those classes that you're in. Hard skills are going to be considered those book skills. You're not thinking about anything that's interpersonal or people skills or anything like that. We're thinking about the things you have actively learned to do in the lab. If you are one of my students that are doing computer science or anything like that, we're thinking, do you have an AWS resume? Do you have those additional credentials and things like that? You can physically show me a lot of those things. If you're a bio individual, please don't just pull up with a pig and start cutting into it in front of me. I'm gonna start selling up. So we're thinking about those different skills and things of that nature. Again, name the tools that you are using. If you know that there is a specific barometer or specific whatever tool that you're using in your lab, name that tool, right? There are specifics that it is so easy. So there's a school in California that I have a colleague at, and she was talking about that she's the only person that is able to give her undergraduate students a certification in whatever machine that she runs. And I was like, oh, that sounds really dangerous and scary. So I was like, I'm not going over there to go figure that out. But you're thinking about those trainings and certifications that you guys are doing in your lab classes. Again, please, for the love of God, put SPSS on there if you are somebody that uses it. If you use any other softwares or hardwares, please go ahead and put it on there. I know most of y'all being hard science, in the hard sciences may or may not use any qualitative resources or anything like that. However, if you do down the line or anything like that, go ahead and put them on there. On your skills section, you can have the name of it, and then in parentheses, or you can really just read the parentheses off, depending on which space you have. You're going to put quantitative analysis assessment piece or whatever. So you'll put what it is, just because one, I want you guys to get all of the points whenever you're submitting those applications out there. And then we're thinking lastly about that involvement piece. Name your affiliations, we've already talked about that. Highlighting the key points of involvement. So clubs and organizations, while you may have been a general member, you could have been the treasurer, the president, the founding member, or whatever that is. put it on there, right? So if y'all are in Tri-Beta, if you're in any of these additional honor societies and things of that nature, go ahead and put it on there. You don't have to tell everybody what you did and what your involvement was. Some folks may have only paid dues. That's okay. Go ahead and put that information on there regardless. It shows that one, you were invested in the actual work that you're trying to do. I have one of my former students, she did everything in NSBE that I could possibly think of, and on her resume, it just say NSBE because we ran out of space. And I was like, well, you're not going into that right now, so it's okay. So you're thinking about those different pieces, and then again, highlighting the awards that you guys are winning or any awards that you may be tied to. When I say awards, one thing I do want y'all to think about is Dean's List and President's List. Please do not put it on there every single semester that you got it. It is the same way that when you go to a conference, it's just going to be fall 23, spring 24, whatever. Because if you put every single semester, you are going to run out of space really quickly.
One question I get asked, actually, it's not posted in the chat, but I was going to bring it up. Your GPA is sometimes a touchy subject on resumes. What I have been told, and please give me any more context, is unless it is exceedingly high, like award level, president's list, like if you're not getting a title at your graduation, do not put your GPA on your resume.
That is correct.
Is what I've heard.
So whenever we're thinking about GPA, if you're applying to grad school, they're going to ask for it somewhere in their application process. Also, they can look at your transcript if you're having to send that in already. So grad school, you don't necessarily need to put it on there. Again, if I'm thinking about space, depending on if we can enable some things, liking and stuff, like, please, if you are, I had one student put a 2.4 on there. You know, what if we took this off, because this is not in good standing. So we're thinking about those different pieces. If you have a 4.0 already, fantastic, you can put that on there. You can also just put, summa cum laude if you've already graduated. If you have not graduated, please don't put it on there because you don't know what's gonna happen between now and whatever happens on graduation day. Things happen. So I just want y'all to kind of hold on to that piece, right? So you're thinking about that. If you are going into a very competitive grad school, so again, let's say you're applying to an R1 school for whatever specific type of research that you want to do, you have a background in it, go ahead, you can put that GPA on there. They're already going to see your GPA other places, but it does not have to put it on there if they make you have that 4.0, or if you're bringing basically.
Any awards?
Lowest GPA award, you probably shouldn't put it on there, but you know.
Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, next slide, please. So I'm gonna go over some examples, and these are just gonna be some really brief examples of like what is a strong and what is a weak version of these different things. So one, we're thinking quantifying and naming. So with most people conducted research on machine learning. And what does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. So you're thinking about a strong version of that would be developed a machine learning model that improved data processing speed by 30%. One, you're talking about the model that you're using. Two, you're actually talking about the actual deliverable of 30%. And for some of y'all, if you're using specific frameworks or specific, theories or conceptual frameworks or anything like that, you can put them in there. You have to word it relatively well. I will say as someone in the social sciences, there are certain things that like, I will put the actual name of the theory because this is what I use for my case management model and this is what I'm using for these different things. If you're saying that like, oh, I am one of 15 individuals that is using whatever specific model, theory, framework, or practice, you can put that in there. Specifically, one, it highlights you possibly as an expert, make you look like a crackpot. If they're like, yeah, you know, no one's using that theory because of X, Y, and Z reason, you're thinking of those things, naming it and being able to quantify it. Again, publications, please do not say published a peer reviewed paper on quantum computing algorithms, but that is the right one. I was like, what? That's the one we want to use. We don't want to say, wrote a paper on quantum computing. Well, hey, what does that mean? Did you write it for a class? Did it get published? Did you work with other people? Did it go through a revision process? Did it go through publication? Things of that nature. want that top one because we actually have the pieces in there. And then the last one, tools, you're looking at the actual tools that are being named. You don't want to just say that you're familiar with Python. It doesn't do enough. For my folks on that though, for my folks that are in the actual computer world, if you know multiple languages, that should be a section in and of itself. If not in your skills, please know more than one coding language. You're thinking about Python, C++, C, Java, anything like that. You're going ahead and you're putting that in there. Also for those individuals, you're also thinking about the ability to have an AWS. So this is what it stands for, an AWS resume, which is going to be a resume that you build yourself online. More than likely, you already have a certification in it. For my folks that are, again, in those IT computer science fields, you're also thinking about what certifications are going with my degree. Specifically, a lot of y'all are moving from from school directly into industry, into the working world. I want you to already have those certifications because computer science and IT has become very competitive within the last five years for sure. So thinking about those additional certifications that may be paired with your actual degree, or certifications that may be outside for like the Coursera or something like that.
Additional note on the verbiage here, so with proficient, that means you actually know how to use this, you know how to operate this system, you're not going to need a lot of training to work on that. If you are, say, less than proficient in that particular language or that particular application, then you may be competent with it, or you may have specifically worked with this application and just leave off the adjective associated with that. What you don't want to be is familiar with some of these tools. That doesn't tell us anything. You want to tell roughly your level of expertise with these tools without telling them, yeah, I worked with this thing for one class, I'm okay with it.
So we're thinking about, there are 3 words that you're thinking of: your beginner, intermediate, and proficient. Sometimes we can kind of play with the wording just so that it actually flows a little bit better, because saying beginner with Python doesn't sound great. So we can kind of finagle some things in there, and that's why we're working with some of those, again, just kind of wordsmithing some things. Next slide. So this is gonna be the last piece that we actually have. So you're thinking about that professional branding. So whenever you're thinking about professional branding, we're thinking about that LinkedIn profile, we're thinking about who you are specifically in the world in which you want to work in. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be somebody in zoology, if you want to be somebody in whatever space, you're thinking about, again, that professional branding. So again, first of all, understanding what is your brand, what are you trying to do? Let's so if you are somebody and you're like, I want to be a doctor, right? But every time that you get on LinkedIn and every time that you get on any type of like media, or anytime that you're at some type of event, you're like, yeah, but I have a pig and his name is Charlie and he's so great. What does your pig Charlie have to do with you being a doctor, right? So we want to make sure that we are doing the things.
People are human moms. Pigs are human moms. Exactly. Just you.
No, working real hard for that one. I appreciate it though. But you're thinking again, what is my professional brand? What is my specific actual niche? Being somebody that is a scientist is very broad, right? You can be a physical scientist, social scientist, you can be a geologist, you can be whatever. So I want you to get on that niche. Figuring out, this is who I am, this is the specific research that I do. If you ask me, I can tell you what my specific research area and topic is. Versus if you ask somebody else and say, oh, well, I kind of studied this and I looked at that. You can have a research agenda, which means that you have multiple things that you're studying. However, these are the things that are on your agenda. So it all has typically a good through line. I want some folks that their research agenda makes sense until you get to that last item, and that's just their rabbit hole. They like to just Google Scholar and wait. 2, I want you guys to go ahead and think ahead. Think about the things that you can go ahead and do now. So a lot of you are already you're in LSAMP, so thank you for all being proactive. So kudos to you, but you're thinking about what are those additional skills, organizations, and experiences that I can go ahead and find and get. Going ahead and thinking about it as if you're in school, you're paying for this, how much can you get out of it? It's like those people, if y'all have ever seen that girl on TikTok or Instagram, where she's like, how long can I stay at this buffet? And she stays like all day long. I want you to stay at the buffet all day long. So I want you to think about it like that. I want you to think about how am I getting the most money out of this? Most institutions, y'all are paying a hefty amount to go to school. That you could use that money for other things, so get every single thing that you can out. 2 or 3, excuse me, you're leveraging your tools, leveraging LinkedIn. For my students that are here, y'all are leveraging Handshake. You're also leveraging all the other softwares that we get for you guys, that you do not have to pay out of pocket for. You also have access for most students to a lot of those career resources post-graduation. Schools, we are gauged on what jobs you are getting and what you're doing after you leave us, so we want to make sure that you guys still have tools post-graduation. So you're thinking about those different tools that you're able to use. Whenever it comes to LinkedIn, you're thinking about posting and reposting. I don't want y'all to be those people that have LinkedIn and you go on there and it's like, yeah, here it is. You showed up to the meeting today. All you have to do is take a picture, take some pictures with your friends. You already know most of each other. For my folks online, you can take a screenshot and then you upload that to LinkedIn. Oh my goodness, had such a great day. Tag LSAMP, tag whoever. Thank you for this conversation. You can tag me. And then I can go ahead and repost it so I don't have to repost. So you're thinking about those things. If LSAMP posts or if one of your friends posts and you see 1, you're in the picture, or 2, you're at the event, you can repost it. Same thing, like if you're on Twitter, you can retweet something and leave a comment on there and say, oh, wow, I attended this event. It was so great.
And then put the STEM Center on LinkedIn.
That part. So you're thinking about those additional things. It's really easy and a lot of this work is already done for you. I want you to go ahead and kind of get into a habit. When I was an undergrad, I had a rule for myself that every hour that I spent on any other social media, I would spend 15 minutes on LinkedIn. 15 minutes on LinkedIn, you can do a lot. So I want y'all to think about this, like 15 minutes, you turn on the show, you turn on whatever it is, your timer. If you're a Pomodoro method individual, you turn on that little timer on there and have a little tomato tell you when you are ready to be done.
So question from online, actually on that very subject, is how important is social media when applying for jobs and positions?
So social media at large, I want you to think about the fact that 1, it is really easy to find most of you on social media, which is a little disturbing.
Maybe I'm private.
So you're thinking about those different things. There are different tools and resources that companies will pay for because they want to make sure that before they hire you, you are not a liability, right? So you're thinking about those different assets and things like that that companies may be using. If you delete something, there's this thing called the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine means that I can type in whatever and I can pull whatever was deleted and has been taken off of the internet. You can pull all those archives.
I asked this as a person who hasn't had any social media since 2017.
That's right.
I will also add, I think the data brokers still have that information from before 2017 then.
They do. I want to say the Wayback Machine goes way back. I used to use it just to pull like other old videos and resources for other stuff that I used to do. However, whenever you're thinking about that, like I have an old Instagram from whenever I was in middle school. If somebody finds middle school Christian, they're going to see middle school Christian doing middle school things, posting memes that are not funny. Nothing is incriminating. I don't have to look too deep.
So delete my info from the Wayback Machine, if only it was so easy. The problem is, once it's online, it's there forever.
Also,
Somebody's got it somewhere.
Someone has it. Something that I used to tell a lot of my brothers whenever I was in Greek life, people can take screenshots. So if someone is on your close friends, if someone is on your private snap or whatever you possibly have, people can take screenshots, they can screen record. Yes, it sends you a notification, but they still have the information. So you're thinking about what again is my professional brand. Y'all are at the point in life where a lot of things can happen. You don't know who is going to be in what position come 10, 20 years down the line, 2 years down the line. I've been on hiring committees that I've seen people from my undergrad, which I was like, I don't think this is gonna be a great fit for us. So you're thinking about like, again, what is that reputation that you're creating for yourself? Again, being students that are going to undergraduate conferences and things of that nature, I want you guys to introduce yourself to other faculty and staff members, or faculty members primarily from other institutions, because you don't know what they know, you don't know what connection they may have and things of that nature. And then that last one, again, it's just being engaged online, being engaged in person, being somebody that it's like, I know that if there is some type of STEM event, I would 7 times out of 10 probably see me share it, right? So it's like, okay, cool. I know which students are going to be at the event. I know which students I can be like, oh, hey, I have an opportunity, or oh, hey, I know somebody that's doing this research. Let me go ahead and send this opportunity over to you. It may not be somebody that is directly within your industry, but those are gonna be people that, again, have different opportunities.
So yeah, just making sure you're aware of what you're posting online, and then also so many of those sites like LinkedIn are really, I wouldn't say necessarily like required, but make a lot of the networking, a lot of the engagement that does get positions, makes it a lot easier, especially in the follow-up on those, because you're not necessarily going to be emailing every person you ever met with at that conference, but if you add them to the LinkedIn, you do have a way of relatively easily getting back in touch with them later.
You're also thinking, so something that I kind of want y'all to think about now, there is academic Twitter or X or whatever it is. But there's a version of that side where professors are actively on there, they're actively talking about research, they're actively engaging with things. It may be something that is more so for social sciences, because these are folks that I see on there all the time. Again, that's just what my life has been tailored to. But there's also different apps like Blue Sky and things like that. So you're looking at what are these other spaces that I'm already in, that I can start reaching out in, or making another account that works better for you.
Also notably, things like Stack Exchange or Substack, or also forum specific disciplines. So like I'm still in a spectroscopy forum from college, and like that has a bunch of like, again, retired engineers like working on like spectroscopy problems. And so like it's really cool to like see those, and like there are people I like have met like through those like organizations. So there are, when we're talking about social media, it's not just, you know, the Instagrams and the various large ones out there. There are subject specific ones, and there's also the ability to connect with your peers, because ultimately so much of science is based in collaboration and sharing information with each other, and therefore being able to connect with other people is how that happens. That's why conferences exist.
Next slide. That is all that I have for you. I know that Ian does have the link for y'all's feedback survey and whatnot. I'm sure the next one did not. But thank you so much. If y'all have additional questions, this is the time for you to go ahead and ask. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and tell my wife, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I did so good. Put that gold star on the refrigerator, please.
Oh, also, before feedback, everybody, for those of you in the chat, I will drop the link again. But please, everybody do that. Even if you are not an LSAMP scholar, please do that for us.
Even if you're not. That's crazy.
So, would it look strange to establish a social media presence after almost a decade of no presence? I don't think so. I think just having a basic LinkedIn would probably be enough to really start making those connections, because that's how you can like talk to administrators and talk to folks in an informal setting without having to like email them for everything.
If you don't have anything like on like the big sites like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or not Snapchat, but like any of those like major sites, it's okay. What you're really thinking of is like, do I have a LinkedIn? And if I do, is it up to date? So you're going in there and just kind of amazing, starting and doing that work now. I've seen people where it's like, oh, you literally just started a month ago. That's fine. I see that you're actively doing things, and that's really what you're doing.
Everybody got some somewhere. And also things like Handshake especially. Last thing, so especially just in our last couple of minutes, and definitely bring in any more questions as well. We got about 5 minutes left. For all of my seniors who are in the room, I see a couple of y'all. Through Handshake, y'all are gonna schedule a meeting with Christian before spring break.
Through Handshake?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how they do their thing.
I just, I don't have a handshake.
Okay.
I got enough going on.
Appreciate it. Hey, you know what I'm saying?
I got.
Sounds like it's a requirement. I'm not gonna be over the requirement.
I'll let y'all work that out.
You discriminate if you don't have a handshake, is that what's happening here?
No, I can do it on LinkedIn.
Here, I'll give you one.
I can do it on Instagram.
I was about to say that.
No, you're not scheduling a meeting with Career Services through Instagram.
Oh,
That's middle school.
What about that?
That's-
Here you go, it's National Pistachio Day, in case you're wondering. Yeah. Don't say God bless you for the pistachio.
God bless pistachio.
God bless pistachio.
All right, if nobody has any more questions, we will go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. And thank you so much to Career Services for coming out and supporting us. Thank you.